There is a man who has never kicked a ball professionally in his life. He has never managed a team, never scored a goal, never won a trophy. But he is more powerful than almost every manager, director, and club owner in football. His name is Jorge Mendes, and he is just one of the men pulling the strings behind every transfer you've ever seen. This is the story of how football agents stopped working for players and started running the entire sport.
To understand how agents became so powerful, you need to go back to 1995. That year, the European Court of Justice made a ruling that changed football forever. It was called the Bosman ruling. Before Bosman, clubs could hold players to their contracts even after they expired. A player had almost no freedom. The club owned you. After Bosman, out-of-contract players could move freely within the European Union without a transfer fee. Suddenly, players had power. And with power came a need for someone to negotiate on their behalf. That someone was the agent. At first, agents were simple middlemen. They helped players find clubs, negotiated basic contracts, and took a small cut. But over time, as TV money flooded into football and transfer fees exploded, the role of the agent evolved into something nobody could have predicted. They stopped being middlemen. They became power brokers.
Nobody embodied this transformation more than one man, Mino Raiola. Born in Italy, raised in the Netherlands, son of a pizzeria owner, Raiola started his career helping Dutch players move to Italian clubs in the early 1990s. But it was his personality that set him apart. He was aggressive, fearless, and completely shameless when it came to making money. Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the most powerful men in football history, once publicly called him and I'm quoting here, a shitbag. That's how much clubs feared and hated this man. And Raiola loved it. His client list reads like a who's who of world football. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Paul Pogba, Erling Haaland, Marco Verratti, Gianluigi Donnarumma. But it was the Paul Pogba transfer that shocked even the most seasoned football insiders. In 2016, Pogba moved from Juventus back to Manchester United for $89 million, a world record fee at the time. Now, here's the part nobody talked about. Raiola's fees from that single transfer were estimated at around $53 million, collected from the player, the selling club, and the buying club simultaneously. Think about that. The total agent fee for the Pogba transfer was £41.89 million, while under proposed new rules, the maximum he could have received would have been just $8.9 million. He made more from one transfer than most players earn in their entire careers. And he did it by representing both sides of the deal at the same time, the player and the clubs, collecting fees from everyone at the table. Over his entire career, Raiola is believed to have generated more than $800 million in cumulative commissions. $800 million from a man who never played a professional game in his life. Raiola passed away in 2022, but the system he built didn't die with him. If Raiola was the bulldozer of football agents, Jorge Mendes is the chess grandmaster. Mendes started out as a DJ before opening a video rental store, then bars, restaurants, and nightclubs across Portugal. Then one day, he stumbled into football, and football was never the same again. Mendes oversaw the transfer of Cristiano Ronaldo from Sporting CP to Manchester United for $12.24 million in 2003. That deal put him on the map. Then he brokered Jose Mourinho's move from Porto to Chelsea in 2004. Despite Mourinho already having an agent, Mendes simply walked in and took over. From that moment, his empire grew fast. In 2009, Mendes made $4 million from Ronaldo's $80 million transfer from Manchester United to Real Madrid. Then he orchestrated Ronaldo's €100 million move to Juventus in 2018. In the summer of 2014 alone, Mendes brokered 4 of the 7 biggest transfers worldwide and earned an estimated $30 million in a single window. But here's where it gets really interesting. Mendes didn't just represent players. He started representing clubs too.
After the takeover of Wolverhampton Wanderers by Fosun International, Mendes was implemented as an agent for the club. In 2022 alone, Wolves invested 124 million euros, predominantly on Mendes clients. A September 2022 match against Fulham perfectly illustrated his influence. 12 of Wolves' 14 players on the pitch were Mendes signings, worth nearly 300 million euros in transfer fees. Let that sink in. One man's clients made up almost an entire Premier League starting 11. Today, his personal fortune is reported at around $1.8 billion. He currently represents Lamine Yamal, arguably the best young player on the planet. The cycle continues.
So, how does this actually work? How does an agent make so much money? There are three main ways. First, transfer fees. When a player moves clubs, the agent takes a percentage of the transfer fee, usually between 5 and 10%. On a $100 million transfer, that's 5 to 10 million euros for one deal. Second, wages. When a player signs a new contract, the agent negotiates it and takes a cut of the annual salary. Top agents can earn millions per year just from their clients' ongoing contracts. Third, dual representation. This is the most controversial one. Some agents represent both the player and the buying club in the same deal. That means they collect fees from both sides simultaneously, like a real estate agent who secretly represents both the buyer and the seller. FIFA has tried to regulate this, introducing rules that cap agent commissions and prohibit agents from working for two clubs in the same deal. But enforcement is difficult, and the biggest agents have fought back hard against every attempt to limit their power. The result is a system where an agent can walk away with tens of millions from a single transfer, while the clubs and players argue over the scraps.
And it gets darker and darker. Mendes faced legal scrutiny when the public ministry in Portugal accused him of 18 million euros in tax fraud. He denied the allegations and agreed to pay a fine while proceedings continued. Raiola was accused of engineering transfers simply to trigger contract clauses that would generate fees for him, not because the move was best for the player or the club, but because it was best for his bank account. There are stories of agents approaching young players at 13 or 14 years old, convincing their families to sign long-term representation deals before the child has even kicked a ball at senior level. There are stories of agents paying other agents to drop clients and send them their way. There are stories of clubs being strong-armed into signing players they didn't want because the agent threatened to pull another player they needed. This is the world behind the transfer headlines. It's not clean, it's not fair, and it's completely legal. In 2019, global spend on transfers was around £5.5 billion, while agents' fees that same year totaled around £550 million. 10% of every pound spent on transfers went straight to agents, and that number has only grown since then. FIFA has tried to cap fees and introduce new regulations. The agents fought back legally and politically. The clubs complain about agent fees every summer. Then they pay them anyway because they have no choice. The players trust their agents completely because without them, they have no voice at the negotiating table. And the fans? They keep buying tickets and shirts, funding the whole machine without realizing it. The agents win every time, no matter what happens.
The next time you see a transfer announcement, the graphic, the shirt reveal, the Instagram post with the new kit on, just remember, somewhere in the background, a man in a suit just made more money from that deal than most people will earn in a lifetime. He didn't train, he didn't sacrifice, he didn't bleed for the club. He just picked up the phone. That's the real transfer market. And until football finds a way to fix it, nothing is going to change. If this opened your eyes, share it with a football fan who needs to see it. And subscribe, because we're just getting started.